morning, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Coffee with Jim and James. James, okay, before we get started, I have to tell you, I'm a little excited for this morning, not just because I have my coffee, but as you know, I've been in the energy industry 20 years, utility grids, midstream, LNG, OQ compliance. And what did I get in the mail the other day? You know, when something, I don't want to give a lot, but when I get something like this in the mail, let me tell you, it piques me, it gets me going, gets me excited. So I can't wait to dive into this week's episode.
So when our guests ask us for our address to send it, as much as I wanted, I didn't want to have to send two different ones. So I said, Jimmy, you take this one because I knew how pumped you would be because he's a nerd like that. He's, like he would be one of the few people, that would just go to the mailbox, be pumped to find a random piece of pipe in there. Oh. And so first of all, welcome to the show, Terry and Doug. Yes, we're not even going to try to do your intros. We'll let y'all intro yourself. But our friends at Evonik, and we appreciate y'all joining us today. We have some exciting stuff to talk about that, honestly, I have no clue about. There's a lot of acronyms and letters and numbers and stuff. And I'm going to be a learner here. I told Jim before we started this one, this is going to be one of those where I sit back and learn and really enjoy it. So these are some of my favorite because I don't have to work a lot, to be perfectly honest. So, but welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, hey, before we start, Jim James, I just want to tell you guys, Doug and I really appreciate you having us on your show. Learning a little bit more about Evonik and introducing PA12 to the gas distribution world, or at least everybody out there listening anyways. So we just want to, yes. So
all six listeners.
Two, Doug and I are here, and then there's two more after that. But no, we just want to extend our appreciation for letting us come on your show and talk a little bit about PA12. So
you bet. Well, thank you guys.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Let me kick this off. I always talk about relationships, right, James? Terry and I met through a mutual connection. We were connecting the dots, and we're excited to hear about Evonik and everything that's going on. So, having both Terry and Doug, why don't we do this? Why don't you each spend a little time? Give us the 30,000 foot level of where you are, so we can learn a little bit about both of you. And get a little background of that, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper in some of the fun stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Jim. I'll go first, and then I'll pass it off to Doug. I guess what I'll do is I'll start it from the beginning, not beginning of me, but the beginning of my time in the industry. Rewind the clock about 10 years ago. Back in the beginning of 2012, I joined a somewhat known company in the industry called George Fisher Central Plastics.
Yep.
And while I was there, the topic of conversation that kept coming up, time after time was hydrocarbon permeation and the effects that it has on pipelines. And to be honest with you guys, at the time, I'm not sure there was a great solution out there for that hydrocarbon permeation, whether it be internal or external hydrocarbon permeation. But I'll get back to that here in a second. Back to my time at Central. After spending some time there for a while, I made a move to a smaller company, and then eventually landed at a larger company called Baker Hughes, where I was introduced to this material called PA12. And it was being used at the time in oil and gas gathering, still is, but at the time it was being used in oil and gas gathering, and Baker Hughes was using it quite a bit. And once I learned more about it, I knew that it would be the answer, could be the answer to a lot of concerns within the gas distribution company regarding hydrocarbon permeation. But it's not just hydrocarbon permeation; it's for higher pressures as well. Instead of having to go from HDPE to steel, now there's a play there for PA12. So to bring this all back around, I joined Evonik mid-2020. Excited about the opportunities that PA12 can bring to our industry. Bottom line is, as we all do, we want our industry to be safer and keep progressing. So when Doug hired me on board, I knew that together we could bring real change in our industry in a way that answers a lot of questions that maybe didn't have answers to before, or possibly previously haven't been wanted to be asked in the past. So that's kind of my 30,000 foot and what's brought me here to today with you guys. And with that, I'll pass the baton over to a much wiser gentleman, Doug Weishaar.
Wiser, older, I don't know. Thanks, Terry. That was a good intro. So, yeah, truth be told, I hired Terry without ever having personally met him. He was our first COVID hire or victim, hire with the company. I mean, imagine going through that process. It was just all brand new, but
it was the only chance I had to get hired, honestly. If he would have met me first, no way I'd be talking to you guys right now.
That's absolutely not true, but what an experience, right? Not to diverge too much away from the topic here, but hey, my background, I've been with Evonik for about 13 years. I've had different positions over that time, but I'm currently the market segment manager for our industrial and energy market segment. What does that mean? Well, within the energy market segment, we have a strong focus on upstream oil and gas production, as well as the downstream gas distribution markets. So today we're here to talk more about the downstream and how PA12 in a gas distribution pipe form can really benefit the market.
I like it. That was both very good and very concise. So I'm gonna continue on, James, because I just feel like carrying the baton at this point.
Jim, I feel like they're trying to make time. Like we told them kind of the ballpark time, and they're both over there with a shot clock. That's what I feel like.
Oh. Well, okay, hold on. I've been waiting for this all day, or excuse me, all morning, James, right? So Evonik has been around for 100 years. You guys are, well known in the world, have a depth and breadth of products, a plethora of products. But the one thing that you reached out about was the PA12. Ready, James? Ready? And I've always been an SEC guy or even a Big 12 guy, but the pack. Oh, wait, you see what I did there? This isn't college football. Come on, guys. Give me is the mic on? Are we still going?
Virtual is hard. It's hard to tell jokes in virtual world.
There you go, Jim.
It is. I tried. I'm going to do that at SGA, though. I'll carry it off in person. But we did come here to talk about I believe it's the 2101 PA12 pipe, NRG, blank, blank, blank. Anyway, I think this is the animal right here. Can you gentlemen bring us up to speed? Because a few things that I do know about this, I have done a little research, and I know that some of the characteristics for running through a natural gas grid, especially downstream of a city gate, we can get up to 250 PSI through this. And these are some of the things, being an ex-utility guy, that really spark me and interest me. So I want to know about everything from, crimping to, all the good things. So let me hand it back over to you, gentlemen.
Absolutely, yes. Vestimid NRG 2101, otherwise known as PA12.
There we go.
So, but what I'll do is I'm going to let Doug jump in here and talk a little bit about PA12. He's much more experienced in this than I am, but I'll jump back in and fill in some more gaps then too. So.
Whoa! Thanks, Terry. Talk about a quick handoff. Are we talking about football or PA12 pipe? Wait a minute.
Yeah, either one.
All right, maybe we should stick with what I know better. Yeah, the PA12 pipe. Well, hey, look, a quick history lesson. PA12. Evonik introduced polyamide back in 1963. I mean, this stuff is older than I am. It's been around for a long time, maybe older than all of us, hopefully, on the call. So we're not talking about a newly developed material here. PA12 has a long-standing history of proven performance in automotive and energy application. Yep. What is new, though, is the use of this material for producing natural gas distribution pipe and fittings, right? And look, for many years, you're coming out of the industry, steel was the only material that people went to. Well, before that, it was wood and clay, believe it or not, years and years and years ago. All right, but let's talk more recent history. Steel was the place to go. Yeah, introduced HDPE, another polymer, and this material has dominated the low pressure gas pipe market for many years, starting back in the early 1960s. So what does that mean? So that means the industry wants a non-metallic solution, right? So now we have this pipe. It's produced from PA12 and can support higher pressures, say beyond the reach of HDPE, but into that range of steel. And it's approved by PEMSA, who's a regulatory body for gas distribution, up to 250 psi, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and as a follow-up to that, what Doug all mentioned, I want to make sure that everybody knows and understands just a couple of things about PA12. Jim, you have that sample there. Looks a lot like PE pipe. It has the same look, but it's a little smoother. I'm sure you could tell it's a little smoother, which it kind of adds to increased flow rate. But the similarities of PE and PA don't stop at just the way it looks. PA uses the exact same tooling as the equipment as PE. So same scrapers, same electrofusion machines, same conventional fusion machines. So to the viewers out there that might have an interest in PA12 but are concerned about retooling their trucks in order to use it, there's no need. So PA12 actually does offer the benefits of steel pipe system, but the ease of installation that the PE provides. So it's the best of both worlds.
Can I ask you two quick questions in that? In regards to the installation of this, if we were getting rid of a 1 mile steel main line running down from a city gate through a city and wanted to replace it with this, could we leave the existing PE in place and then hook up to this?
You can. It would have to be through a transition.
Okay. That's fair.
So PE and PA are dissimilar materials. They're dissimilar polymers, so they won't adhere to each other through electrofusion or butt fusion. But you can easily transition from a PE into a PA system. Absolutely.
Almost again like how we do with steel to
correct.
PE. Exactly.
You're absolutely right, Jim.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to mention too, you mentioned that hydrocarbon permeation and that. Can you give our audience just a little bit what that means to them, for those, and to James too?
Yeah, I'm over here in the chat going, please ask that word that they said.
Hydrocarbon permeation.
Yeah.
Doug, do you want to tackle that one, or
put him on the spot?
He's on mute.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Pro.
That's right. I work from home, and there's a dog in the background. So if it's going to bark, it's going to bark when I'm on a video call. So I usually.
I'm surrounded. I'm serious.
Very good.
We're good.
Well, look, hydrocarbon basically is material found in the earth. It comes up as crude oil. Within that crude, there's a lot more than just a refined petroleum product like gasoline or natural gas. So there's a couple nasty things that exist in crude, and we refer to that generically as a hydrocarbon. But it's a fossil fuel material, and some plastics are actually more resistant to hydrocarbon than others, and I guess that's one of the features and benefits that we wanted to bring forward a little bit in respect to the incumbent material, which is again a non-metallic material that is HDPE. And hydrocarbons also are very corrosive towards steel. So when you see pictures of corroded steel, when we look at a non-metallic solution, we don't have to worry about that corrosion from hydrocarbon exposure. So that's kind of a high level non-chemical explanation.
That made perfect sense. You did a great job, Doug. Thank you.
And so, James, when we replaced that main line running 2 miles down the middle of the town, another thing that we don't have to be concerned about is cathodic protection and such like that with using this versus steel pipe. So,
Gotcha. Man, see, this is the kind of stuff that I love about this show, because there's products out in this world, there's things, there's companies, I didn't even know existed, and so when I get to learn about that, that's what I love about it. I just
Agreed.
geek out over here. I'm sure there's a lot of viewers and audience that just think it's going to be two old guys talking about meter sets again, every time. And no offense out there, we have plenty of people come on and talk about that too. But then when we learn kind of the origin stories and, those moments, to think about this product is a new product that's been around for, 60 years, in a way, kind of melts your brain a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about relationships and, what it takes, those partnerships that really make it happen, behind the scenes with Evonik, is not unique. They've got the same things going on. So can y'all elaborate on that, how the partnerships really have shaped the products and the organization and the strategy behind rolling this out?
Sure, absolutely. I appreciate that question, James.
No worries.
As you guys know, it's extremely difficult to break into the world of gas distribution, right? I mean, you just heard Doug talk about this. This product was introduced in gas distribution in the 60s, and you still have steel guys out there that don't want to move away from steel. They still comfortable steel, not comfortable with HDPE, even though it's been out there for 50 plus years. But we knew going into this that it would take three things to be successful, right? The first and foremost was a time-tested great product. So check that box, guys. We've got that. We have it. The next thing was time. We knew that we needed to introduce PA12 into the gas market and spend time building our brand, building the PA12 brand. And in doing this, I'm often reminded of the story about the young bull and old bull standing on a hill. If you don't know the rest of the story, I'll tell you offline. But we knew as sales guys, even though it's not necessarily in our cards, we had to be patient. We had to spend the necessary time introducing PA12 and building the brand. It's actually the main reason why we're here on your show today, to build a brand, introduce PA12 to your viewers. The third thing we needed, and maybe just as much as important as time, is what you'd mentioned, is the right relationships. And having spent some prior time in gas distribution world with my time at Central Plastics, I had a pretty good idea who the right, quote unquote, partners were for us. And Doug and I spent a good bit of time making sure that we had the right people in the right seats on the bus. So we're proud when we mention that we have partnered with an experienced extrusion company called United Poly Systems. And United Poly has facilities in Springfield, Missouri, Albuquerque, New Mexico. So within reach of most of the United States, if not all the United States. And they just aligned perfectly with what we wanted to accomplish as a company and what we are about as a company and our values. And then through that relationship and partnership with United Poly, we're actually able to team up with another company we were targeting, Grubner and Associates.
Yep.
Grubner. I think Ryan was just on your show not too terribly long ago.
Sorry. Do we want to say the name Ryan Ellis?
No, I see.
Did
you
we
said
just lose
Ellis.
a bet?
I just said Ryan.
Yeah,
So it could have been a lot of Ryan.
Yeah,
but Jim had to ruin it and say Ellis. So, but we brought them on through United Poly as an extended sales agent, and they also serve as the technical trainer for PA12 for construction crews. And given their vast knowledge and experience within the industry, we knew they were the right ones to partner with. And we honestly wholeheartedly believe between these two partnerships and a product that is second to none, that we believe we're in a position where we can be extremely attractive and attentive to the needs of clients, both in short and long-term situations. So that's it. Three things: product, time, relationship.
And we joke about Mr. Ryan Ellis, but I got a funny story about him. Yesterday we recorded with him for the show, and we get all the way through the pre-show, and he goes, "Man, I gotta switch over to a different internet connection or something." And he hits a button and it drops his virtual background. He's sitting in the back seat of his truck, and he was doing the show from back there, but you never would have known it. It was.
He had a virtual background, so it looked like he was right in front of one of the.
And it looked like he had all the space in the world because he's in the back of that big truck. And anyway, it was funny. It was dedication. We appreciate him though. But
you say dedication. I think his wife threw him out of the house. To be honest,
that's probably true.
But we're not going to confirm or deny that.
But tune in next week.
Right.
No, guys. Terry, you mentioned something in the pre-show, and I wanted to be sure we covered it live as well, so people know the pre-show is where it's at. We never record it, because we're all liabilities, but that's where it's at. But Terry, you mentioned something. I want to bring it up live. You were going into detail about the cost benefits for companies, and I wasn't sure if you were talking in general regarding Evonik or specifically PA12. So I wanted to be sure we covered that. And look, we got a lot going on, so I just want to be sure we're checking all the boxes for you guys too.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you bring that up. I'll bring Doug in on this as well, as he's actually one that kind of helped develop. But what I want to make sure before Doug goes into it is what the audience hears is the savings that could be seen with PA12 and comparing it to steel. Not only just in the installation cost, but the lifetime cost savings are incredible. Doug, do you want to take it from there?
Yeah, sure. So it is kind of a fun topic. Evonik developed this proprietary tool for estimating the cost savings associated with using pipe produced from PA12 versus steel for the gas distribution applications. It actually works for other oil and gas applications as well. Anywhere where we're comparing PA12 to steel, the installation cost and everything about those projects are fairly similar. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, the use of non-metallic pipe for gas distribution service has been steadily growing since the early 60s. So some of the material benefits, include that corrosion and hydrocarbon resistance, durable yet lightweight, ease and speed of installation, all which translates into lower installation and operating costs versus, steel in this case. That's what we're comparing to. So it's not unusual for a project to realize, more than 60% of the lifetime cost savings when we use PA12 over steel. There's one project where we crunched some numbers through the calculator. It was 4-inch SDR11. Did you get that, James? Yeah. Anyway, right? What does that mean? Anyways,
no clue.
But we showed a cost savings of $285,000 per mile. Per mile. So just imagine if it's a 10-mile project. We're talking seven figures. So some serious numbers, right? But the benefit calculator takes into account a lot of the variability or the variables, that go into installation of steel, welding, X-ray cathodic protection, lifetime inspections, all this versus PA12. So there's a lot that goes into this calculator output, and it was a very really fun project, but it's quite an eye opener for folks when they're evaluating the use of a non-metallic versus steel. So there you have it.
Fun exercise for people to go through. Seriously,
absolutely.
James, just to give you an example, I'm holding this up and showing it, but weight-wise, compared to if this was a piece of steel pipe, I'm going to say it's 20%, maybe. This is just my rough estimate.
Can you bring that when you're in town next week?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can add it to our collection. I don't know how you get on the plane, but I trust you.
Oh, well, we'll just see that one go.
And just for the record, I know that SDR11 is polypipe. I mean, I know that.
Oh, my man.
There's actually a place down the street from me. I live out in the country, but that makes poly out here. So actually, I Googled it, but I'm honest. I'm an honest man. I'm a multitasker. I knew y'all were going to ask that question.
No, nobody's better with doing a quick Google search.
Hey, listen, I may not know what the acronyms mean, but I speak money, and I know that $285K per mile is a good number. And, it'd be silly not to run the cost analysis on it anyway, right? I know business, but I don't know those acronyms. I won't lie.
Yep. All right.
You can teach it.
Yeah. Okay. You be our Luke. We'll be your Yoda. Oh, you said do a little Star Wars thing.
Not bad. I love it. Yeah.
All right, we're getting close to, unfortunately, having to wind down here, but we like to kind of wrap up the end of the show with a unique question. So, Terry, I'm going to begin with you. You can hand it over to Doug if you want. You have the floor, sir. If you could leave our audience with one thought, one word, something to leave on the table, give it all away, to our folks that are listening and tuning in, what's that thought or closing statement you would want to say? And again, it
Sure.
could be professional or personal. It doesn't make any difference in our world. I mean, whatever.
But, how about simple? All right.
Okay.
And here it is. I'll give you 3 words if I could.
Yep.
And here they are. Solutions are here. That's it.
Oh, wait. If I had a mic, I'd drop it right now, James.
Yep. So that's mine. Solutions are here.
Doug, do you have
Doug?
anything that you'd want to leave on the table or any words of advice?
I'm almost speechless after that one. Terry. Oh, so I always get a kick out of this one. One word. In my world, in my industry, since I graduated from college, it's been plastics. So, yeah, as Mr. McGuire said to Benjamin in The Graduate, there's a great future in plastics, and that future is here. It's been here for a while, but oh my God, I'm not living that life completely. But
I feel like Jim has used that same quote before on the
I
show.
have.
Yeah.
I bet somebody has.
He'll go, James, there's a great future in plastics.
And nobody knows that movie. I'm like, man,
No
maybe
one.
myself. Listen,
I had to look it up, guys. I'm not going to lie. I looked it up.
won't
Are you serious? Oh,
I did.
So, as y'all saw in the picture when I go off camera, I'm so young that I could not relate to that.
well, enjoy the movie.
Jeez, we better wrap this up before we get into trouble with the FCC.
That's right.
I'm not to say it. Anyways, Terry, Doug, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing this with us and our audience. We think it's some fascinating technology, and I know that there are utilities, municipalities, and others right now are saying we need to know more about that. So, for those that are on the LinkedIn platform, we're going to put links into Terry and Doug and connect up with them, ask them questions, get involved. Evonik website, as well as follow on LinkedIn and such like that. And again, gentlemen, we appreciate, on behalf of James and I, we appreciate you being on the show. So audience, please do connect with Terry and Doug, and thank you for tuning in today. Until next week on Coffee Jim and James, as I always say, stay safe, everyone. Again, thanks, Terry. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.